Hi everybody, welcome to my channel and another art journal tutorial with a Christmas theme. This one we're featuring the technique of negative painting. So my Canson mixed media paper, this is the 7x10 size, has been gessoed. And I'm going to put down with using block and blend technique of applying paint, wet on wet, on here. And I'm using cadmium yellow. Is it cadmium? Orange and deep violet. And I'm mixing them wet on wet with the makeup sponge to get some variation in tone. Don't worry if this is messy. This is the fun part. I want some bright colors down here, and I just want to play with my stencils and make for a colorful patterned background. So I'm adding the deep violet. The deep violet, when it mixes with the orange, makes this beautiful rosy color. And I'll come back and add more layers of paint to deepen the tone of the colors. Now I'm avoiding mixing the purple with the yellow because that doesn't quite make a color that I like. So I'm just making sure that the yellow is dry before I go on top of it or near it. These colors together have a lot of vibrancy, which is why I chose them. If it dries, you can come back and put a layer of paint to deepen the hue. Or if you have an area that you don't really like the color, let it dry, put a coat of gesso on it, and then put the color on top of it. Now, while I love these colors together, it's missing something. So I am going to add more color using the complementary colors across the color wheel from what you see here, as well as I'm going to add some white and black. And I'm going to dig out a whole bunch of stencils. So I'm putting this one, this is called the Garden Gate stencil, and I'm putting white. This is just kind of knocking back some of that color, and it's also giving me a base to put other colors that are going to show up differently than if it was on the purple or the yellow. Now with this art journal page, I have an idea of where I want it to go, and pretty much that's what the page ends up as, but you don't always. This stencil is called Posies in a Row, and I'm going to use black, and I'm going to add some contrast to it. When you add black and white to bright colors, it just makes those colors brighter and stand out. Playing with stencils like this, layering colors and patterns, is a great thing if you are having a artist block. Just go and make some colorful backgrounds. Don't worry about where it'll go in the end. Just play with color and pattern. Now I want to add some more color to this. And I believe this is turquoise, and I know that's really going to pop against the yellow, against the deep violet, against all the colors that are on this background. This stencil is called Starflower Net, and you'll notice that all three stencils that I've used do have kind of a flower theme. It doesn't have to. I was picking for more scale. Here I wanted to add the color, so I wanted bigger areas of color. And I'm putting a couple layers of paint on it to get the vibrancy that I want. This turquoise paint is quite opaque, which is why I chose it and why I chose the next color as well. But you can see adding that color here worked really well. Could I have put one of these colors in the background? Absolutely. I'm grabbing the next color of paint, and I believe this one's going to be bright aqua, which is a very opaque paint. So it's going to really block what's behind it. This stencil is called Punch Card. Now, all the stencils I use are some of my favorites, and I reach for them on again and again and again. If you don't have those, use the stencils that you have. But I like to give you recommendations of ones in case you're looking, and I'll put links and the names in the description box below, and you can go to any of my affiliate links and go and see them. Another favorite, this Minidots stencil. And I'm going to use this with several colors. I like the small scale of this. I've kept this portion of the video at real time. Here I'm using quinacridone magenta. You can see how those posies in a row stencil that I did in black, because we've stenciled on top of it, that's been knocked back. You don't see it as much. So if you do put on something that you go, ooh, I don't know if I like that, just keep layering. Now I'm adding some white. And you can see how that contrast just really makes all the colors around it pop. Here I'm using white acrylic paint. I want the opaqueness of it instead of white gesso. Often I just use the white gesso because I don't really want it such great coverage. Love, love, loving this at this stage. I decided to add some black dots as well to build in the contrast. And that might be the only thing that if I was doing this again, I would leave out the black at this stage. You could do some stamping here if you wished. But look at these vibrant colors. So I went, and this was from a free coloring page. I got these Christmas light bulbs, and then I cut them out on tag board. Some are on paper, some are on tag board, and I edged them in black just so you could see better. And I like having the details on that. It just helps me compose it. And I'm just playing with the composition. I want some overlapped, I want some single. I'm thinking where, if I'm going to put a sentiment, where will that go? And if you spend a lot of time playing around with composition, trying one, trying another, you're not alone. I do too. In fact, I turned off the camera and I played even more. I don't want all of them doubled up, overlapping. Some can be off the page. That always makes it look more interesting. So then like I said, I turned off the camera and I played a little bit more, and I'm happy with this. So I am tracing it, and I am using a white Stabilo all pencil. It is water soluble, which is why I'm choosing it. You can use a white charcoal pencil or chalk. Basically, this is giving me the outline to do the negative painting technique. I'm swapping out that one's copy paper, and I want the tag board one so it's easier to trace around. And I'm deciding which bulb is going to be on top of which one. So the only thing that's going to have this pattern is the light bulbs. Everything else is the background. And I am going to, in a few minutes, paint that out. Now, there was a reason I went with turquoise and the bright aqua. That's because I'm going to mix those colors in the background. And I found that when you do the negative painting technique, whatever you paint the background color, if there's that color, at least somewhat, on the pattern, it just works better. I like the look better. So I'm watering the paint down, and I'm mixing the turquoise and the bright aqua so I get different hues. I'm not trying to get this complete coverage. I'm perfectly happy to see some of that pattern from all the work that we did showing through. Some people leave this more translucent. I tend to go with a little more coverage. You could have used any color. I could have painted this green, but I went with my favorite colors. A dark navy might have been nice in here too. I'm using an angle brush. I find that that works best for getting close up. And since it's a Stabilo all pencil, it reactivates. So if it gets wet, it just activates, and it's not going to change the color. If I had used the black Stabilo, it would have made it very dirty looking. as I'm watching this, I'm thinking to myself, what would have happened if I had painted the light bulbs solid colors or black, just make it totally black, and then had leave the back colored background? That would have given a different look. Or I could have gessoed them out and painted them a solid color. So there's lots of options, but I chose to do the negative painting technique at this stage. Now, while this is an art journal page, 7 by 10, you can do this on a canvas board. This would also make a beautiful Christmas card. But if I was doing a Christmas card, because it is smaller, I would shrink the light bulbs. To get the right scale. If I was doing this on a larger canvas or page, actually this isn't 7 by 10, this is 9 by 12. Nope, sorry, 7 by 10. I would have used the same size on the 9 by 12. I had played with it. I probably would have had more light bulbs. Or a different composition. Here, I'm shading around the light bulbs with Prussian blue. And a lot of what we're doing from now to the end of the video is that finishing stages. And I go through quite a lot of different steps in finishing to get the look that I want. This kind of, you get it darker and then it kind of bleeds out a little bit. And I chose to use blue because that's the color that's in the background with that bright aqua and the turquoise that I used. You can scroll and speed up if you're tired of watching the shading, but it is part of the process and it does make this work better. It goes hand in hand with the negative painting technique. And I'm edging the page. And you can see where I painted the turquoise and the bright aqua on the negative space. That pattern still shows. So now I'm using a baby wipe and I'm getting rid of the white stabilo, because I am going to shade inside the bulb now with black. And if I left that white there, it kind of, I don't get the true black color. And yes, you could have taken that off before you did the Prussian blue. It just wasn't as important to do it then. So here I've got black on the inside. Quite often when I shade, I do shade on the inside and then on the outside. And you can see here the difference that black makes. It really makes that light bulb stand out as opposed to what we had before. If you make a mistake, just grab a baby wipe, wipe it back. and I'm just working my way around all these light bulbs. When you're doing the shading and all the finishing work, now it's a good time. Put on an audiobook, put on your favorite music, and enjoy. You can see those two bulbs aren't done. You can see the difference that black makes. Uses the least amount of paint, but probably takes longer. The background goes together pretty quick. It's the finishing that takes the time. And really, that's what makes the page. Loving the black, so I'm edging it with black. That it's just adding that more contrast, which to me just looks better. So at every stage, I'm drawing, I'm thinking to myself, what does it need? Does it need something else? Now I'm adding a little bit of highlights. And I wasn't happy with adding the highlights, but I don't think I got them in the right spot, or just something was off, which is going to lead to the next step. Maybe it's time for me to go check out some YouTube videos on shading and highlighting and getting it right with where the light's coming from. Didn't like that, wipe it off. And you can do that because everything underneath it is permanent. So now I want to add a little more detail to the background, and I'm using these templates as masks and covering up my beautiful Christmas lights. And I'm using this Tile Mania stencil. And I was reaching for the white, and then I thought, oh, the gold would look really nice on that teal turquoise background. It's a complementary color. They're across from each other on the color wheel. Plus, you're going to get the shimmer. So I'm using a makeup sponge. Now, this stencil is very fine, so you have to work it a little bit, take a little bit slower, and push the paint in. But if you don't get too much paint on the makeup sponge or press too much, because then it's going to seep under. And I love this effect. It looks like little stars or twinkling reflections of the light. So if you're not into Christmas, you can do the same technique with a different template, a flower. It could be just a circle. It could be pretty much anything. And I've done the negative painting technique with fish, with other things. Just search negative painting in my YouTube channel and you'll see those videos. And I covered up the light bulbs because they have enough pattern. You wouldn't even see this on there. Loving that look and that shimmer. There's a couple spaces that didn't get something, so I'm trying to put some in. The bright colors are just popping. That gold is shimmering. And I just decided I need to do some more shimmering. To hide the fact that it's not perfect stenciling, I'm going to splatter gold. If you're wondering why the video is as slow as it is, I'd ask people if they like the slower videos, and the comments that I did get tells me so. I wanted the bulbs to stand out even more, so I grabbed my Posca pen. This one's the white one, and I'm outlining it. It could have been done, the page could have been done, but I wanted to add some line work, some doodling. I wasn't kidding when I said lots of finishing. So we shade it with Prussian blue, we shade it with black, we highlighted with white, we're outlining in white. Don't like that. Now I'm adding some of the cord that connects the light bulbs. And I did take my Stabilo All pencil there and I sketched it out, figuring out what I like. And then I'm taking my black Posca pen and giving a fairly, I'm thickening it up a little bit. And this made a big difference. That adding that black just seemed to work. And it connected all of the light bulbs. It was necessary. I could have used a liner brush with thin black paint here. And then I decide I need to put black around on the outside of the white. So I put the white with the Posca pen and now I'm doing black. I rarely outline. It just, once I did the black for the cord of the light bulbs, it just seemed to need this. Every little part adds. You can do this with Easter eggs. So I have my letter word stamps, and I stamped it out just to see the size, and I'm deciding to stamp with white acrylic paint, and I'm going to put the word shine 3 times. I'm not trying to get it perfectly straight. And as you can see, because everything is permanent underneath, if it messes up, I can wipe it off with a baby wipe. Speaking of a baby wipe, I'm cleaning the stamp after I stamp with it. You want to make sure you get that acrylic paint off. I've spread the white paint on my glass palette, and I'm just using that as a stamp pad. You can use your gel plate as well. I was just too lazy to get it out. So this brings us to the end. There are some pictures coming up. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know if you give this technique a try. Come join my Facebook group, Art Journaling and Mixed Media Creations. Until next time, go get creative.